Behaviorism is a type of psychology that studies how the environment affects the observable behavior. Many behaviorists believe that individuals acquire and learn all behaviors through environmental stimuli. In other words, nurture plays a huge role in developing behaviors. There's two types of conditioning, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. However, we will go more over operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning is a learning process where rewards and punishment occurs for types of behavior. In order to understand the behavior, we need to understand the cause of the action and their consequence. This was an idea concept from B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner was one of the most influential psychologists during the 1930s. He began as an English major and got his master's degree in psychology at Harvard in 1930, then got his doctorate in 1931. He created the idea of operant conditioning. As we go along in operant conditioning, you need to know a few terms. Reinforcement is a response that increases a behavior being repeated based on the environment. Punishment, and they could be positive or negative reinforcement. Punishment responds to weaken our particular behavior.
Operant conditioning is a type of learning where the consequences of your behaviors shape your future behaviors. Those consequences may be either a reinforcement or a punishment. We will be focusing on the following terminology. After each example, we'll see how the terminology can fit into this chart as to whether a stimulus is being presented or removed, and whether the subsequent behavior increased or decreased. For our first example, we have a student who is working diligently on her schoolwork. As a consequence, the teacher could show his appreciation for her hard work by providing positive feedback. In return, the student continues to work hard. In that example, we had a stimulus being presented, which caused behavior to increase. Therefore, we would call this positive reinforcement. For our next student, we again have a good student who is working diligently on her coursework. As a consequence, he could remove some of her work, such as dropping a quiz or removing a homework assignment. This would make her happy and want to continue to work hard. In this example, a stimulus was removed, that was the quiz or the homework assignment that was being removed, in order to cause the student's good behavior to increase, which would be negative reinforcement. For our third example, we have a student who has fallen asleep during class. As a consequence, the teacher may get upset and verbally scold the student to wake him up. The misbehavior of sleeping would then stop and the student would start to focus on classwork again. In this instance, a stimulus was being presented, the verbal scolding, in order for the misbehavior to decrease. So we would call this positive punishment. In our last example, we have a student who is using their cell phone during class. As a consequence for this misbehavior, the teacher could go over to the student's desk and confiscate the cell phone. The student's misbehavior would decrease and they could focus on their work again. So, due to a stimulus being removed, the misbehavior decreased, which would be negative punishment. And those are the basic types of reinforcement and punishment.